I think we would like to open up for people who want to share their investing experience and then their recent, stories for investing. Anybody want to share?
Yeah, I kind of want to add to what Nick said, like stick to your own investment style. I fully agree with that. So I usually don't like to manage rental myself, and it's definitely kind of like more like a personality thing. And I kind of took a detour this time. I ended up like I have a condo right now I'm renting out, and I'm trying to do the tenant screening and the management myself, and it's actually a lot of stress. so I definitely miss have a professional management company doing this for me. But also because I live so close to my condo, I figure I should give it a try and see how it goes, especially with the rental market that seems to come back slowly. So that's something new for me to try out, just kind of active management myself. Yeah. And market-wise, I continue to see a exodus from California. I work in the tech industry, and I think pretty much everyone I talk to that's doing pretty well is looking to leave California. It's kind of shocking, honestly. and basically the order goes like, number one, people want to get out of Bay Area just because of the pretty ridiculous cost of living. And I think the recent housing market doesn't help as well. I heard like in Bay Area that's the bidding war is going pretty crazy right now. So definitely, yeah, a lot of people have the incentive to leave Bay Area. And for tech people, I think the number one choice is to move into a state without income tax, and that pretty much puts you to Seattle area, and Texas, like Austin area, and then Florida, like
Florida.
Yep. Yeah, although I'm not sure like where exactly in Florida, but I already have a couple callers either already bought or looking to buy in Florida. So I think Florida is going to be a pretty interesting market to look into as well. I looked into Texas myself a couple years back, actually. I did not buy there because the property tax is pretty high, and also the insurance is pretty high too. So that kind of stopped me from going into Texas. So instead, I kind of invested in the greater Seattle area, which I do not regret it. It's doing very well. But as a tech worker myself, I think the number one destination that pop up on my mind is definitely Seattle area, and probably more on the east side nowadays, because I heard Seattle city itself also is imposing some tax, so it's not as business friendly. So actually the company I'm working for has a Seattle office, but because the city is so it's so unfriendly, we are looking to open another one on the east side, like near Bellevue. So a lot of I've seen a lot of colleagues migrating to that area. Actually, I just have a colleague in my small team actually just moved to Seattle like last month. So it's a very interesting trend that's happening right now. It's definitely real. So yeah, that's just my observation so far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Duanxi, especially when you're talking about the first part, managing your own property. It's so interesting. I used to manage my own property right before we started the property management company. And then it's a quite a change. Now I don't, before I'm always like, I want to know my tenants. I want to be my best friends of my tenant. I want to take care of them. I think they will take care of me. And then I want to doing all those things, the extra, and then to hopefully they will treat the property well, things like that. And then there's a lot of stress that's going through that. Right now, I don't even know who my tenant is other than my teammate Ida send the application to see, do you approve? So I don't even do anything special for my own property. I like that peace of mind, the distance. It's like, I don't need to worry about that. That made me personally just feel very good in that sense. So
yeah, that's exactly helpful when I have a full-time job. Like I just don't have the mental capacity to worry about like extra stuff because I gotta put my 8 hours of work on daytime, and I want to relax after work. I don't want like dealing with tenants after that,
Right. Yeah, and then don't worry about, oh, do they pay rent on? I remember those days. It's like, do they pay rent on time? And then should I send them a text message because they haven't paid rent yet? It's things, those little things I just remember in detail, especially when I do house hacking, rent out room by room. It's even more. It's like so interesting. And then and can I share a very inappropriate story? One of my house hacking, one of my tenants at that time, it's so funny. At that time, I was not very frugal, and then I don't know anything. That's when I started investing, 2009, 2010, right? So I drove a Beamer, and one of my tenants one day talked to me, say, Nick, I need to borrow your Beamer. I said, why you need to borrow my Beamer? And then he told me, do you want rent to be paid? And then it turned out to be, and then he become a male prostitute. And then he is helping people to clean houses. And then, but the lady who he helped clean houses won his service. So he said, I need to show up nicer so I can get more money and I can pay your rent. And I just remember all the drama that's happening and then in those days. Yeah. Anyway, sorry for the inappropriate picture.
I was like, how come we never heard that during the icebreaker?
That's one of my,
We have a question in the chat from Francis. How do you finance your investment? What are the best companies? And so maybe Nick, you can talk a little bit about what you do. There's a lot of options. Heather is a lender here. When she introduced herself, she does some traditional loans. And then I know also Laura has some quote unquote untraditional ways that she's used to finance some properties that have been very successful for her. So I think we could talk about that for a little bit.
For me, I work with 1 or 2 agents, and I always look for whether they can just get the thing done, especially when the deal is not easy. It's very complicated to get done. Sometimes when you're buying multifamily, and then also when we first start the business, doing everything, it's not W-2 income thing, it's just complicated. So I'm always looking for people who can get the job done, not necessarily provide the cheapest rate. And then at least that's how we do it. And then once we have that, we can refinance to get a cheaper rate. Yeah, and I realize also sometimes 0.25% of the rate, even 0.5%, it doesn't change too much about the monthly payment. It's really when I'm going through the stressful situation, finding a property, getting a loan, whether they can help me to get done. Especially in this market, basically you need to waive everything. And then I don't want at the end to lose my earnest money. So right now I'm using Caliber Home Loan, Caliber Mortgage, I think that's what they call.
Heather, do you want to weigh in here?
Sure. I can just introduce myself and say, hey, yeah, there's definitely a lot of options. So if anybody's interested, I would look into it for them and see what I could do.
Okay, awesome, great. And then Laura, do you want to explain a little bit about some of your strategies?
Sure. I'm going to ask Heather really quick before we get started. Do you do loans, or does your company do loans for short-term rental properties? Those are the ones it seems like are the most interesting challenges right at the moment to find funding for.
So ours, it would have to be 4 or less, so 4-plex or less.
Yeah, so for single family homes, do you only work with the local area or do you work out of state as well?
Yeah, Washington, Oregon, California, and Utah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. So as far as we go, we use whatever we can come up with that is the best scenario for what we're doing. We've used hard money. We have had a lot of luck with certain lending locally to be able to get things done and get things accomplished. And the rates have been working very well for us as far as that goes. And they work for a variety of different states as well. So that is always a bonus for us. But we like to work a lot with private lending and finding investors and working with people that have self-directed retirement accounts, those types of things, because we can provide almost double the interest rate than what they're getting on their retirement accounts. So it's a big win for them, but that's awful economical money for us, as far as that goes. So we do that. As far as also looking for those creative methods, being able to find properties on seller financing, subject to financing, those types of scenarios. We are always looking at, I work more in the wholesale side of the market than I do on the retail side. We do the retail side at the end of the sale, for the sales of flips or for the sale of the properties on the market. But we are often looking for properties, preferably before they hit the MLS if we can. But, with things like short-term rentals and those types of things, we can look on the MLS and pick up properties and do those types of scenarios. So it's not as big of necessity, but that is where we spend a lot of our time looking for those types of scenarios.
Thank you, Laura. Francis, does that help answer your question? Or Brian, do you want to weigh in here?
Oh, no, I just saw somebody posted a question about foreign money loans. I think those are pretty hard to get now. I think your best bet is just to slowly move all your money over to the US, right? Nick, any thoughts?
I think there's still some bank can do that, right? I know, for example, Caliber, Lee will know this well. It's like, for example, if it is your green card holder or US citizen and you work outside of the country, I think in some way, some bank can still verify that income as your total income. You just need to report tax in United States, right? Because you're required to. If you are completely foreign national working in another country, and I do think there are different banks that can provide that. I know for people who are related to China, there could be East West Bank or Cathay Bank. They will provide some loan, but the closing will be longer, like 45, 60 days. And then the rate is higher. And then there are a lot of time not pre-approval letter. So it makes it very tough to buy anything in this market as a seller to accept the offer. But there should be some.
Yeah, if anybody is interested, I can look too. We have some Canadians in our investment group that invest in the United States. So they would be the most versed as far as finding banks in the United States that work with foreign investors to do that, if that is what they're referring to, or if they're looking for foreign money, that might be a little bit different.
Does that help, Francis?
Yes, it's very helpful. Thank you.
Good.
I know earlier, Sam was talking about her question numbers. I don't know whether Sam, do you want to share, or is Sam still here? I know we're past 8 o'clock already.
Got all night.
Is Sam still with us?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay. Did anybody else have any questions or experiences they wanted to share? there's quite a bit of experience here and pretty diverse experience too. So,
Hi, this is Josh. I have a question.
sure.
With the exodus from the downtown Seattle core area, do you think that going in there's any wisdom or to buy something downtown as a Airbnb or something like that?
What type of property do you think you'd be interested in? Are you thinking of like condos or houses or townhomes or?
Yeah, I'm thinking more condos downtown. I work downtown. I worked through the pandemic, and I've seen a lot of the condos actually empty out. You look around, and there's basically just empty condos everywhere now.
I think if you want to be close to downtown, I wouldn't be, I personally can't make any recommendations for buying anything downtown at this point. We recently had a condo on the market. It took a while to sell. Finally, we did get an offer accepted couple weeks ago, thank goodness. But I think if you're going to think about downtown, think about the areas near downtown that are still very desirable. Areas like Queen Anne, Ballard is a really good one for investment. I think Ballard offers enough proximity to downtown. In fact, a lot of the people who work downtown live in Ballard now. Ballard has really high rental rates. I don't know so much about Airbnbs in Ballard. I think they would probably do very well as well. But single family rentals, townhomes, there's a lot of townhomes in Ballard. Even condos in Ballard do pretty well. But there are areas near downtown, good neighborhoods near downtown that are very desirable. But I think the downtown core, I would probably stay away from.
Good deal.
As far as
Thanks for the info.
short-term rentals in the Ballard area, we had one. We sold it last year, but that wasn't necessarily the fault of the property per se. It was a variety of things. But in our first 2 months of having it built out as a short-term rental, so we had a basement that we had a door between the upstairs, the main level, and the upstairs to the basement. So we had technically 2 units. You could have the unit that was 2 bedrooms, 1 bath downstairs, and then you could have the main floor and the upstairs master suite as another one. That brought in $11,000, over almost $12,000 gross revenues on a monthly basis before we ran into a property management company that we were working with that kind of killed that. But its first 2 scenarios, if you were managing it yourself and being able to maximize it for the different OTAs, I would say that you have a lot of potential in the Ballard area for rentals. You're close to the cruise lines, which is big because people oftentimes come in from the cruise lines and want to stay, as well as just people that want to come in. Our 2 bedroom, 1 bath, lower level unit was full a lot more often than the main level, believe it or not. So people don't expect a huge, build out of stuff, but they like to be able to be close. If that's at all helpful in that particular regard.
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you.
Hey,
This
is Eva. Actually, I'm an agent that's part of the GPS team too. I just wanted to chime in about Ballard as well, but from a long-term rental perspective, just to add on to what Brian and Laura just said. I recently helped a client bought a townhome in Ballard. I mean, it's actually east of Ballard in the Finney Ridge area. So from a commute perspective, it's actually closer to Seattle because there's a lot of supply of townhomes in Ballard area. And so the competition is actually not that fierce. We were actually able to get this property below asking. It was it's slightly below asking. We got it for like $740K. It was for a 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath townhome around 1,500 square feet, and it was rented for long-term tenants. It was rented for $3,800 with a tenant prepaid 6 months of rent. So we thought that was really good rent to price ratio for a townhome. So I just wanted to chime in and share that data point.
And also, Eva is actively working on the Airbnb as well. Actually, in June, the meetup, our goal is to talk about Airbnb, what to invest in Airbnb and how to manage Airbnb. So that will be next month. So
Yeah.
Josh, you're welcome to join us as well.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So I have a real quick one. We are going to be looking for potential investment property in the U District area. Do you have any suggestions or, connecting with being able to find investment property that is not necessarily the market, running the markets and those types of scenarios? My son is going to go, he just got accepted at UW and program. So it's one of those things I would rather teach him about managing a property and doing those types of things while he's going to school.
Are you looking? Oh.
I was just going to say, I think we've tended to shy away from these types of properties because they can be difficult to manage. Just the people, it's just ripe for problems. But I think if you have the opportunity to have someone there to manage it for you by way of your son, I think that could be an awesome experience. I think you would do probably pretty well in that case, because you would have somebody on site that really maybe hopefully kind of took care of the place, because that's really what something like that needs. Typically we don't do multi-unit buildings like over 5, 6, 7 units, 10 units. It gets pretty dicey up there because it's hard to manage that many units and, grounds maintenance and upkeep and laundry rooms and garbage and all these things. But if you've got someone on site that's really on your side, like an on-site property manager, then that could really work in your favor. Nick, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just thinking whether, Laura, are you looking for those kind of the 20, 30 rooms, giant building, and then, or you are looking for because there are quite a few, right? And they also start to develop a lot of those micro housing in the area, or just a house or a townhouse. I'm just curious, what kind are you looking for?
Well, ultimately, I would like to find a property that we could utilize, that he would live in one portion of it. So multi-level, meaning that either there was a separate entrance or something like that where we could build out. Ultimately, doing short-term rentals would be the key for us if we were going to do it, because that's where I specialize in. But small multifamily. I'm not sure about high rises and big huge units and those types of scenarios. But more of the duplex to triplex to quad, somewhere in the 6 units or less, I guess, is kind of what would be ultimately looking for. And then of course, things that were more exterior entrances, so that you would have a little bit of that new COVID kind of relief, if you will, from, having to have indoor entrances and fobs and things like that to get into the buildings. Have it where people can get into their own entrances with their own keys or their own keypads.
Yeah, I'm not sure how versed you are in that area of what to look for, but there are quite a few opportunities that kind of fit that category. It's mostly, 100-year-old homes that have been divided into 4 or 5 or 6 sections. They're usually studio apartments or 1-bedroom apartments that have basically been converted to student housing. And I think, if you had like a 5-plex or a 6-plex that was an old house that had been converted, that would be pretty easy for, someone like him to live in, and then have other, basically, it's like a roommate situation. Sometimes they have shared kitchens, but oftentimes each unit will have its own kitchenette, that sort of thing. So those are the type of opportunities that I was kind of thinking that would be, typically we would shy away from, but if you have somebody there that really will take care of the place and manage it as their own, I think that would work greatly in your favor. But
yeah, those types of things. So maybe I should chat with you guys at some point. It's not like, and it has to be an immediate need, but to keep our eyes open for the right property as far as that goes.
Then I don't know the specifics of this, but I heard about a couple of years ago, I was hearing some people they were converting some places in the UW to be more of a shared living situation, where like there'd be basically a bunch of apartments and like a shared kitchen. And there was some form of a tax break or a program around that. And I'm sorry that this is really vague. It's just an old story I heard. So I don't know if there's anything there or not. I can definitely look around and get back to those people to see if they were successful at that. But just a thought that popped up in this conversation. So.
Yeah, I mean, we've been looking, and quite frankly, there's opportunity for with the hospital and the medical there at the university and things like that for traveling nurses. So kind of a mid-term, short-term rental, with furnished places and those types of things. There's quite a bit of different opportunity for that type of market in there. As long they do want to have usually their own places. But, we don't want too many units necessarily, but a few of them would be nice.
Awesome. Eva, have you seen anything in the U District recently?
I remember late last year, there were some townhomes, near the Burguman Trail, like along 40th. Nothing much lately. Honestly, it depends on every week, but honestly, I haven't been following that particular area very closely.
Yeah, I would say just make sure we have your information, and we'll try to send you some stuff. If I see something on the MLS, I'll send it your way.
Fantastic. I'll drop my email. Would that be the easiest?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
And then just along those lines, we have a Facebook group. We don't really use it much, to be honest, but it's there for people who want to join and connect with each other. Hopefully, you can find each other there also. But yeah, of course, Laura, just give us your email and we'll send you everything we can.
And this is also our meetup, right? So
yes.
Perfect.
Yay. So that was does anybody else out there currently looking for deals or have interest in starting to look for things that you'd like the group's input on and maybe some opinions or strategies? Or anything you're currently working on? No? Okay.
Yeah, actually, like I mentioned, I'm wondering if anyone has invested in Florida.
I have not.
I have been looking that area. One of our goal is for taxes perspective. I was studying because one guy in my GoBundance pod, he's actually in Seattle. He lives in Olympia, and then his wife is doing Olympic trial right now, and then in Florida doing the I don't know how to say that word, but riding horses. And then so basically they bought a house last year. They're very happy about that. So a few months of the year they live there, and naturally the other part of the year they live back in Seattle. So I've been talking to him and then looking at the Florida market. For me, I'm looking at the top school district because I think if we buy it, it will be a top school district, and then it will be around in the near the ocean or oceanfront. So I can do Airbnb because it seems the Airbnb nightly rental rate is pretty good and then over there. And then, yeah, so that's what I've been looking for.
Oh, interesting. Which city is it?
I forgot. It's somewhere in the north, saying something. If you search, I just look at the school district and then the #1 school district, I forgot where it is. It's in the West Coast on top of Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah. But the tax is really good there. The tax compared to Seattle, where we are heading toward.
Are you saying the property tax or?
No, it's just all the capital gain tax that the state has, and then also if we die here, there is, I think that above $2 million, you need to pay some taxes, right? If you die, but in Florida you don't, and then so that's why.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Seems we had some people drop off. Is the person, there was a girl who was asking about, a lady who was asking about property in Kirkland. Is she gone?
Yeah, she
Yep.
fell.
Oh, okay.
There's a meeting at 7 to 8. Now it's almost.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's tired.
Yep.
They fell asleep during your hour-long story.
I'm sorry, you don't like my last story about my house hacking, how my roommate, I don't want to mention
No,
names, want to pay me the rent.
It's fine. Anyway, I don't know if anybody else has anything, but I just wanted to reiterate what I was saying earlier about house prices and rental prices. Rental prices are just going through the roof right now. And I don't know, I mean, a lot of this is COVID, people migrating, going from wherever they were before to wherever they want to go. But, I heard exodus from California, exodus from Seattle. Everyone's moving to these suburban areas, but the rental prices are just going crazy. And I think if you own a rental property, as soon as this moratorium ends, by all raise some rent, because I mean, there's a lot of lemons that need to be squeezed. I don't want to be a greedy landlord, but I just feel like you just got to keep up with the market. We have properties, Nick and I were talking about some of the properties that we manage and what we charge for rent. And it's just like, gosh, it is pretty low. If you look at what things are renting for, we had a property in Kirkland that, we put it on the market and it rented out like in the first day, and just so many things that, just go so quickly. And there was a property in Sammamish that we recently put on the market. I think someone said $4,000, and the owner was like, no, wait, stop, that's not enough. And so we put it on the market for $4,500, and still multiple offer, or people wanting to rent this place out. And it's like, gosh, it's a rental house. You're going to pay $4,500, and a $4,500 rental property 5 years ago is unheard of to rent out in one day, but now it's like, that's normal. So by all means, don't underestimate the rental price of some of these places. Some of the stuff that you got to pay more for it out of pocket. It's going to cost you more to buy it. Or if you've owned a property for several years and you purchased it years ago and you don't actually, your mortgage payment isn't that great, or you're not making any money, is probably potential there for you to do that. So don't be afraid to market rents and start raising rents as soon as you can, because I think there's a lot of room for that.
It is scary though. I feel whatever go up will come down. This housing prices going up so much, how much money we print, and then it's a little bit scary to me. And then at least for me, I hate to use those super high rental price to my base model, right? Because now we have kids. I feel like stability is one of the important things. It's not like when we're young and then we just put minimum down payment down and then try to buy more, right? I just feel like I prefer to use a little bit more conservative number to calculate my rent. Yes, we can raise the rent. It's because everything's more expensive. Lumber's 3 to 4 times of what it is, right? You fix a deck, and now the cost is so much more compared to before. So for the landlord, it's actually paying way more. So as the inflation continues to go, yes, we need to charge more rent. But it's also a little bit, I don't know. I just don't have a good feeling about what everything is happening. I think I was sharing a lot of people. I'm reading Jim Rogers' book about a lot of the prediction he did in 1989, a lot of predictions he did in 2000. It's all coming true. And then where this is heading as the country continue to print money, and then printing money, not spending on the things that will make our country stronger and stronger. It's a little bit scary. So. Well.
To end on a positive note.
Continue investing in real estate.
That was a little counterpoint for you.
It's always to have check and balance. It's every yin there's a yang, and then I truly believe in that. It's always right when everything looks so amazing. It's good to look at the dark side of the moon to see what are we missing. So.
Do you think with the interest expectation going to rise, the things will settle down a little bit in the later half of the year?
I do think so. I think before, in the past year, even until right now, when people buy, they actually don't look at the house price. They look at the payment, because that's what people do, right? This is what everybody in the country is used to. What is my payment amount? As the interest be so low and everything, and then, oh, I can buy more. Like Brian was helping a buyer. I think they start with 1.1. Is that right? And then the price not getting, and then they really push their up limit. Just keep 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. Still cannot get their dream house across a few months, because at the end of the day, it's a payment. I do think with the interest going up, I think reality is coming to settle in, and then people will look at a house price again, and then not just the payment amount.
Yeah, I think the interest rate will, I mean, it does affect the market, but don't confuse that with seasonal market changes, because it happens every year. Market slows down as you get into summer and into fall. So wintertime and springtime has traditionally been the hot market time. So probably in June or July, you'll start to hear all these reports about the housing market cooling off. That's because every June and July it cools off. So don't confuse that with the long-term effects.
Okay. Well, we're past 8:30 here. Does anybody else have any burning desires that they want to talk about before we hop off?
It's good to see you, Laura, again. It's good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for all your
See you guys. I can hardly wait until next month when we do short-term rentals.
Yeah.
That's what we specialize in. Yay.
Thank you, everybody,
Thank
for coming.
you.
That Facebook.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.